Okay. Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Adriana Stewart, and I'm currently a junior political science and sports medicine double major studying at Howard University, and I have the pleasure of serving as PawPack social media intern. PawPack is continuing our interview series with our endorsed candidates so that you all can get to know who they are and a little bit about their platform. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing District 1 State Senate candidate Ronetta Francis. Ronetta, thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure, Adriana.
And so we'll go ahead and hop right into the questions. So one of the questions I like to start off with every candidate is, we're aware that you are running for the District 1 Senate seat, but can you tell us who you are outside of politics?
Sure. Well, first off, I just want to say hello to everyone and thank you so much for joining in. And as Adriana said, my name is Ronetta Francis. And in addition to being a candidate, excuse me, for the state Senate here in Arkansas in the 1st District, I am also a wife. My husband Earl and I have been married for almost 27 years. We've known each other for more than 30, so we kind of been together for a good little bit now. We have 3 beautiful daughters, all grown. I'm not going to tell you their ages, but they're all out of the house, and we're empty nesters, and it's fantastic. And we're extraordinarily proud of, I still call them the girls. I guess you always do that, right? Even as moms. And I am a community member. I believe that it is important to always give back to the community. So I'm a member of various service organizations, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the Links Incorporated, and we do tremendous work within the community to enrich the lives of the individuals and to help support those that are here. I'm also a small business owner. I am the founding member of Francis Dynamics Consulting Group, which focuses on executive coaching and leadership development. So I'm working on consulting. I've also written several books, actually, and my latest one is called Bloom Where You're Planted, which is the foundational piece of a lot of the consulting work that I do, as well as the public speaking and training that I do as well. So I keep it pretty busy. My background is in employment law. I think we'll talk a little bit about that, but I've been an attorney for more than 26 years, and so now I'm out here as a small business owner and now as a first-time candidate for political office.
All of that is really amazing. And you mentioned, you're a first-time candidate. And so how did you know it was time to run for office? And, how did you decide that the District 1 Senate seat was the right office to run for?
Well, I have to tell you, it's interesting because I had never really considered running for office. I had actually probably considered continuing to run away from running for office. And what happened to me to really get me to the point of really considering it, it was part of some of the community work that I was doing with one of the organizations that I just mentioned. And it just became very stark to me that we had an absence of representation within our community and within the state government to completely reflect what the district and the state actually looks like and how we feel about a lot of different issues. And quite frankly, Adriana, as you know, representation matters. It matters when you can see yourself. It matters when you can see your, not just, what you look like, but how you feel, your views, your perspectives, your background. And even if it's not completely reflected, at least it's being incorporated. It's been considered, and you know that you are a part of an organization that values you. You're part of a community that values you. And I felt that was absent. And, I have this saying, and, Muhammad Ali has reiterated a part of it. Mother Teresa has as well. Service to others is the price we pay for the rent, is the price we pay for rent for the room we have here on earth. And it's just, for me, it just means that we have a duty and obligation to serve others, to leave a place better than we found it, and to do what we can to support, uplift, and empower our fellow man. So what was it that made me think now is the time, now is the space, now is the position? Like I said, the idea of public service has always been ingrained, within me, and seeing that representation was lacking in the state legislature, and then doing the research on the legislation that had been passed by our current, what's happening within our General Assembly, and how is our current state senator representing me in Little Rock, in our capital. And I was just really taken aback by the types of legislation that had been passed, the types of viewpoints that had been expressed, and it just didn't reflect me. It didn't reflect, members of my family, it didn't reflect members of my community and people that I know. And I realized that if I didn't like it, then I needed to do something about it. And I felt that after it was placed on my heart, I thought about it, I prayed on it. Honestly, I talked to my family, got their buy-in. I talked to other um, um, elected officials. I talked to candidates who had run before and had lost about their experiences. And all of that due diligence just kind of wrapped it up for me that this was the time, space, and place for me to step forward, to not be afraid, to step into that unknown, and to tackle something that I knew I had been equipped to address. Whether or not I knew exactly how, I didn't, but I knew I already had the skills and abilities to be able to step into this space and to speak on behalf of the residents here of District 1.
For sure, and I like how you mentioned you already have the skills and abilities, because you have had experience as an attorney for 26 years. You're a CEO of Francis Dynamic Consulting Group, and you've done work as a senior ethics and compliance executive. So you've done a lot of things. Can you speak on how your work within these organizations and companies has prepared you to run for the state Senate seat?
Sure. So you think about the work as a litigator. I was fighting to protect civil rights. As an executive supporting the business unit, I worked to secure the rights of over 2 million workers while also making sure that I was balancing our budget, that I was managing a multi-million dollar budget at the same time while doing it, and in holding people accountable when they stepped outside of the line. And what I also did was I actually created policy in the past. I've written opinions for the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. I litigated. I enforced the laws. And as a small business owner, I see what it means to be struggling in this current economy. I know what it means to uplift and support others within the community. I know what it means to be a vital member of the economic community here. And so when you think about the work as a lawyer, the litigation, the advocacy skills, being able to speak up for and on behalf of others, the negotiating skills, mediation skills are critical to establishing and creating and crafting effective legislation for the good of the community. Strategic thinking, being very goal oriented, and going into the election knowing that if elected, or I should say when elected, I will probably still be amongst the political party that's in the minority. So in order for the goals and issues and platforms that are important to me to see air, to have life, to possibly make it across and be passed, you've got to build bridges. You've got to establish relationships. You've got to prune them, grow them, nurture them, so that you can effectively reach these goals. And when you start from a place of common unity, when you start from the place where we know we can all agree, for example, we all want to know that if we are sick, that we can go to the doctor, that we have access to go to the doctor, that we can afford the treatment, that we can afford the life-saving prescription medicines. I don't think there's anyone who says, I don't care if I can afford it or not. We all want that. So let's start from there to ensure that we can make sure that that happens for every single person. We all want to make sure that our kids receive a quality education, that they're prepared for the future. So let's start there as we talk about addressing issues in which certain children in different areas may not have that full access, where we need to, double down and dig in deeper in investing in our public school education system. So I think about all the different experiences that I've had personally and professionally, and they've just layered on top of each other, one on top of the other, one season after the other, preparing me specifically for this point in time and place in my life and for this season. So,
I couldn't agree more. And you spoke on, effective legislation and important platforms. And some of your platform initiatives include health and wellness, public
mhm,
schools, economic development, and inclusion. Can you
mhm.
discuss how you plan to enhance these areas within the first district as the state senator?
Certainly. So, I just spoke about health and wellness and how important it is for everyone to have access to quality health care. We are in the middle still of a global pandemic. Health is at the top priority of everyone's list. We saw the presidential debate, the second debate yesterday. Healthcare, the COVID pandemic, all of these things top priority. And when we know that essential workers are struggling, we know that minority and underrepresented communities are struggling. We have to do more to make sure that we're taking care of our fellow men, essential workers, and others who don't normally have a voice in the legislature. We've got to ensure that we continue to embrace and include pre-existing conditions in our healthcare coverage. That is at risk right now. And so fighting to ensure that those things are taken care of from the healthcare perspective, primarily pre-existing conditions and access, making sure we are addressing the pricing and then just the quality of healthcare services that are being provided in the area. My other issue is education. I talked about having a fully funded public education system. What does that look like? I've had numerous conversations with a lot of educators, and my daughter, my middle one, she's a public school teacher as well. And I know the impact that the the lack of compensation or not being fully compensated, what that does to the morale, to the quality, to the experience that not only the teachers and the support staff have, but also the students and their experiences within the classroom and how we're preparing them for for life after school and how we're preparing them to be the future leaders of our state, of our country. So making sure that we're providing a professional development, relevant professional development for our teachers to continue to grow their skills and abilities. And the other thing that's really, really critically important is ensuring equal access to quality early childhood education. Early childhood education is a critical factor in the success on so many levels: academic, social, environmental success of the students. And so we've got to make sure we have those for all families, for all families. Um, the economy and healthcare, right? So those are the top issues. How do we go about spurring, revitalizing our economic situation while in the midst of a global pandemic? How can we make these are issues we have to address, making sure we are returning workers to work in a safe environment, making sure that those essential services that we're utilizing day in and day out, that they are in an environment that's safe for them, that continues to leverage and to keep our economy going. And then inclusion is in Arkansas, we struggle from that perspective, from a reputational standpoint, a historical standpoint, and from a legislative standpoint. We're the only state in this entire country that doesn't have a hate crimes bill. We've got to make changes that reflect and to broadcast to the world that we are an open and welcoming state. That also signals to companies that they can do business here, that they can attract talent here. It also signals to families that they have a safe place to live, play, and work. And it helps to reduce public safety concerns because it's a deterrent to hate related activities, hate related crimes. So those are a few of the issues and a few of the platforms that are top of mind for me and some of the actions I would take to address those in this district.
Without a doubt, I wasn't even aware that we are the only state without a hate crime bill. So that's very interesting. I appreciate you for shedding light on that.
Mhm.
But we've touched on a many different topics today. Is there anything else you'd like to add or speak on from your platform or just in general before we go?
So what I will say is that um, if you've been watching the early voting returns, you know that people are engaged. You know that people are really invested in the outcome of this election. We've had record turnout, not just across the country, but here in our counties as well. And people are sacrificing hours in the rain and freezing, 48-degree temperatures to cast their ballot, to cast their vote. That means they are invested. That means that they have a stake in the outcome. They have a voice and they are exercising their choice. And that is tremendous. So I want to encourage those who haven't already voted to make sure that they participate in the process through the early voting in whatever state you're in, or no later, of course, than November 3rd. Make sure you in, uh, do your due diligence as it relates to the candidates that are running locally within your jurisdiction. Everyone can get so caught up in politics on a national level, but truly, politics is personal. Politics is local. The decisions that are made at the state level and the local level are those that impact your day to day lives. So do your own research as it relates to who's running, what do they stand for, what have they, what legislation or ordinances have they supported in the past, who's running against them, what is their stance? Who do you most likely align with? And cast your vote accordingly. I appreciate particularly you as a social media intern and your in the youth of the generation that you represent, how vocal you all are, how just committed to your values and your beliefs, and you're willing to stand up and you're willing to speak out. I just want to appreciate each and every one of you for that. You all give me energy and hope for the work that I'm doing, and hopefully I can inspire you to keep doing the work that you're doing. So thank you so much for this opportunity to share. Thank you for this platform as well.
Of course. And as you mentioned, representation is so important. So it's really cool to see women who look like you running for positions and doing really well within them. So, I appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to me today,
Absolutely.
discussing key elements from your platform and just allowing us to get to know who you are. And
Mhm.
so much so that I hope it's motivated some people to, get out and vote now, or, you have November 3rd. But Paul Pack is really wishing you the best with your campaign, and we're hoping to see a win following the election. But thank you again for joining me.
And thank also to Paul Pack for their tremendous support for my campaign and for so many others. They make it possible for us to do this work and to continue to elevate the platforms and move forward so many very important issues. So thank you, Paul Pack, as well.
Of course. And with that, we'll go ahead and hop off. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.